Thank you for tuning in to Music Marvels with Achickwitbeatz and Breezy Gipson. I am music producer Achickwitbeatz.
And I am entrepreneur Breezy Gipson.
And we're glad that you've joined us once again. Wherever you're listening to us from on the globe, we really appreciate you. Super huge shout out to our home stations, Grander Radio out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Sparks Radio out of Denver, Colorado. And as always, we've got another dope show lined up for you. Tons of music industry news and beats by yours truly. And we're going to continue celebrating Women's History Month, highlighting some of the information that we've gotten from some of the incredible women that have been on the show. I mean, it's always a celebration when women can do amazing things, just kind of breaking down stereotypes and biases. So yeah, we're all about supporting that, and I'm kind of excited to bring this show to everyone. How about you?
Yes. You know, I mean, it's a very, very impactful and important thing. It really is. So the contributions that are made and the efforts put in, energy put in, and you know, some of the results that we're seeing, and some of the efforts that we're seeing. So you know, it's a mighty important and impactful thing. So you know, shouts out for the Women's History Month this time, today, and for the rest of the month.
Yes. All right, so without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and dive in. Stick around, we got some goodness for you.
Okay.
right, we're back with music industry news. And even though this is happening in Brooklyn, I mean, it's such a valuable thing to share just because of all the possibilities that this is opening up. But the Brooklyn venue called Elsewhere is launching a 3-tiered membership program. So it's a multi-room venue, and now they've got a new ticket buying approach. So depending on which membership that you want to get, they range from $2 to $30 a month, and it's billed every 3 months. Benefits include free entry to shows, access to its Discord server, and new music discovery. So they had been beta testing it for a while, I believe since November, and 600 people applied for the first 50 slots in just 2 hours. So that's showing you, right? Yeah, that's showing you that there's a desire for that. And so with this going so well, I mean, like I said, it just opens up so many different possibilities to be able to go have a venue that actually has a subscription. So no matter who's there, you'll be able to stop in and, you know, check it out depending on which tier that you purchased. But I mean, it's one of those things that kind of comes along, and it's such a great idea that you're like, why haven't we been doing this all along? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, just phenomenal. So yeah, if you're in the Brooklyn area or journeying there, then definitely check that out. Especially the fact that they bill every 3 months. That kind of gives you some time so that way you don't have to see it leaving your account every single month. But for as low as $2, I mean, it sounds like they're really considering a lot of people, and you know, the whole economic uncertainty that everyone's been dealing with. But yeah, what an awesome thing. And I'm wondering how many other places are going to start doing this or have been doing it that maybe we just don't know about. So
yes,
definitely something to check out, pay attention to. And hey, if you're a part of a venue, maybe you could suggest something like that wherever you are.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the sky's really the limit for all these different opportunities and these policies and procedures that are taking place, inventions, creations, and yeah, I mean, you know, who knows what's happening next, you know, but it's giving a lot of folks, it's allowing them to put their feet into the game, into the business, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. All right, and Tidal has decided to axe the direct artist payouts experiment. So they're just going to redirect that funding to emerging talent in their program Tidal Rising. So initially, it was the fan-centered royalty system, an initiative that was called Direct to Artist Payouts, also known as DAP. So the DAP initiative directed 10% of all the Hi-Fi Plus subscribers' membership fees, and it put it towards their top streamed artists. But now those funds are just going to be directed to the Tidal Rising program. So they're going to kind of see how that goes. It's, you know, interesting and something that you can kind of learn from, that companies know that experimenting is something that you need to do. So whether you feel like it's successful or not, it's not necessarily a failure, but maybe you just need to kind of redirect some things in the way that they're doing. And so I think that it's really a good thing to be dedicating that to the emerging artists instead of, you know, the people who probably don't really need the extra money. So, you know, it might make things a little bit more equitable. We'll kind of see how that happens. And hey, maybe that doesn't work either. We'll see what else they come up with next. But you got to be able to adapt in this environment. And so if the big companies are doing it, guess what? Us little people might need to do it too.
Well, you know, you mentioned a very impactful and important word in that last statement you just made, and that's redirect. Okay, I mean, so you know, a lot of times, you know, you can tie that word into whether a person responds or reacts. Okay, and sometimes the reaction word is more appropriate, but then other times it's the response that's more appropriate. So, but nevertheless, don't wait too long. So check your progress as you go. You know, don't say I'm going to check this in 3 months. I'm going to check this in 6 months. No, you got to respond more appropriately and redirect, because you may need to redirect some things that you're doing. So, hey, yeah. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. Well, since you kind of built on that, it made me think about the sunk cost fallacy. So just because, you put your time or your money into something and it's not working, it doesn't mean that you have to stick it out until the end because you've already invested so much in it. So yeah, just like you said, sometimes you need to kind of evaluate and decide if you need to move on or just kind of switch up how you're doing. Don't let that sunk cost fallacy get you. So yeah, if the majors are doing it, then, like I said, the independents kind of need to watch and follow. So yeah, definitely something to be aware of.
Yeah, sharpen your business side. If it means making a statement to say, hey, I want to have a meeting every Monday about this, or I want to have a meeting every Wednesday about this. I mean, that shows some progress. That shows some concern. Where you can look at your statistics and so on and so forth. Anything's better than saying, well, I'm going to get back to this in 6 months and check it. No.
Yeah. All right, this next one. Maybe not necessarily music specific, but, a lot of times most drag shows will incorporate music and performances into it. And so for the people in the Tennessee area, the new bill that the Republican Governor Bill Lee had signed into law places restrictions on public drag performances now within the state. And so the bill actually defines drag shows as performances by male or female impersonators as adult cabaret performances. So now this category also includes go-go dancers, topless dancers, strippers, and what they're calling, quote unquote, prurient interests. And so ironically, though, days before he signed that measure into law, a high school yearbook photo of him kind of resurfaced. And guess what? He's dressed in drag. So it's kind of interesting that someone who participated in that would be so against it. But hey, the bill's likely going to face a challenge from civil rights groups on free speech grounds. And, including the Tennessee American Civil Liberties Union. And we'll see what else happens, ACLU. But yeah, hopefully it can kind of ease up on some of those restrictions because entertainment is entertainment. And yeah, it's unfortunate that the personal biases could kind of get in the way of that. But yeah, hopefully we'll see that kind of turned around.
Yes. Hey, that phrase, there's a lot of people, don't throw stones at people that live in glass houses.
Yeah. Because it's no coincidence that photo of him in drag popped up right before he signed it at all, but hey. All right. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, a lot of people establish connections, and down the road they forgot those connections they established.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Very well said. Yeah.
Very good.
Oh, yep. And also, GLAAD and Sony Music Group have teamed up for the Icons interview series. And so far, they're going to have Isaac Dunbar, Emiko, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right, and MKXYZ. And so the 3-part series seeks to advance LGBTQ representation in the music industry by examining how the community has shaped pop culture and how each individual artist broke into the industry themselves. So with them kind of highlighting that, hopefully that can bring more awareness and keep people like the governor from kind of alienating different groups. But yeah, I mean, if you think about like the huge impact, like I'm a house music fan, and without that community, house music wouldn't even exist. So yeah, it's really good that they're shedding light on it and trying to make people more aware, so that way we can see more inclusion within the music industry.
Yeah. Well said.
Thank you. All right. And Universal Music Group has generated more than $1 billion per quarter on average from recorded music subscription streaming in 2022. So their revenues grew by 10% year over year last year, reaching $4.12 billion. But in a normal year, that percentage would have actually been higher. But UMG actually clarified that in 2021, they benefited from a one-time digital service provider catch-up payment. So that's why they got that huge lump sum. So consequently, that reduced its or what do you call it, the percentage increase. But hey, that's still a lot of money. But yeah, if you would have taken that out, that growth would have actually been 11.3% year over year. So I mean, hey, that means more people are actually paying to listen to music instead of just using the ad supported programs. So that's always a good thing, because just in case you didn't know, when somebody, let's say they actually have, they're paying for Spotify every month, you actually receive more money from those people than the ones who listen on the free or ad supported tiers. So that's always a good thing for artists. And in connection to that, the CEO of Universal Music says that talks are underway with some of the streaming giants over the artist pay. So Lucian Grange, he's been a huge advocate of more artist-centric royalties instead of doing the pro rata to where everything just gets thrown in the pot. And so with those talks being underway and with Universal Music being as huge as they are, hey, fingers crossed, maybe things can change and hey, we can get more money as independent artists.
Well, I mean, when it trickles down, it still gets. I mean, people. This isn't anything unusual. People have lives. People have families. Mm-hmm. Okay, so when we talk about money, this is some important money. These are some important funds. Okay, so as an artist, you got to do everything you can to bring the money in. Okay, because it's already earmarked. If you're an artist with a family, that money is already earmarked to help take care of your family. Okay, so plus some other things, but just go for it. Just go for it, and just go for it. So there's folks out there talking about all they're talking about is money. All they talk. No, I mean, you got to live,
right?
And then you got to live life, and so, I mean, there are just expenses out there that have to be looked at. So we got to bring the money in any way you possibly can. And musicians are striving. They're doing it. They're coming up with ideas, and they're opening doors.
Right.
So,
and it takes money to make music.
There you go.
So yeah, even if you're not using it for your day-to-day living expenses and whatnot, even if you want to continue to make music, the more money that you can actually get from it, the better off you'll be.
Yeah, you got to equip yourself with the tools, with the different innovations that are coming out, that can make a difference in the sound, that you produce with your music involvement. So I mean, there's people you got to pay to protect you, give you advice, and that you surround yourself with for your
pay your producer.
Oh yeah. So every bit of money, it makes a big difference.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, and speaking of technology and advancements, Crunchyroll has added music videos and full-length concerts in partnership with Sony Music. So, just in case you're listening and you're not familiar, Crunchyroll is the anime app that most of us who really enjoy it like to use. So last Saturday on the red carpet for Crunchyroll Anime Music Awards, that's when the company announced the addition of music streaming to its paid subscription service in the form of short form videos and full length concerts. So with this partnership, they've decided to license the music. Well, they're working, to license it with Sony Music Entertainment Japan to get content outside of Japan as well. So, that means that some growth is happening. I'd be interested to see how many more people they kind of sign on to be able to stream from the app within itself. But that's a huge thing. And hopefully we'll see more collaborations like that across the globe.
Yeah. Let's hope. Hey, let's make it happen. All
right, and SiriusXM has slashed their workforce by 8%, and it's impacting 475 roles. So the CEO notified employees that job cuts would impact nearly every department as they're kind of navigating the quote unquote uncertain economic environment, which we keep hearing with each one of these stories. So it's affecting the technology sector all over, but we're seeing it a lot with the music technology specifically. So the company had warned about potential job cuts to save money back in November, but at the end of 2022, the company's workforce had increased by approximately 5% compared to the year before. So now it looks like they're trying to scale back just because things have been so crazy lately. But yeah, just something to kind of be aware of. And, you know, it's always unfortunate news when we see stuff like that, but maybe the company will still be able to stay afloat and keep the people that are there employed. But we'll see what's going on and keep you posted as we get more information.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. Okay. And the court in San Bernardino has overturned a murder conviction, saying that rap music shown at the trial was prejudicial. So the California Appeals Court overturned the murder conviction of Trevon Venable Sr. due to a new state law, the Decriminalizing Artistic Expression Act, which we talked about on the show a while back, but it took effect this year. And so the case will likely return to trial in the courtroom in about a month, but the district attorney's office will decide whether or not they're going to seek a new one. But the accused he was accused of being a driver in a fatal 2019 drive-by shooting, and he had an alibi that actually placed him at home. But a witness who claimed that he was at the shooting gave multiple conflicting stories, but the prosecution had played a rap video 3 times in which the defendant had appeared in the background with a gun. He never said a word, but one line in the song seemed to reference the drive-by. So there was nothing in the song that indicated anybody in the video knew about it or was affiliated with it or even had personal knowledge of it, but only that they had heard about it. And so they were able to use this video to, you know, convict this guy of murder, but now that's being thrown out. So, you know, if you're not familiar with it, you know, there's actually a documentary on Hulu that's been kind of covering that, the rap trap about lyrics being on trial and how unfortunate it is that you don't see that happen with any other genre, but specifically rap music. So people are using that to kind of show the character of the person, so to speak. But yeah, it's not taken as an art form. It's taken as a literal thing, which just, I mean, there's so much wrong with that. But hey, we'll see what happens with this case. And once again, keep you posted. To any artists out there, it's just something to be aware of. It's unfair that it's happening, but it is happening. So, you know, something to be kind of conscious of until that law is, I guess, accepted on a federal level in more states. Just be kind of careful. Unfortunately, I hate to say censor your work, but I mean, gee whiz. Yeah, I don't even have any words for that.
Actually, just yesterday, another case came out. Yeah, and a young man, you know, he said he said what he did in this song. I'm like, dude.
Yeah.
And then they're after him. They came after him. So they came after him yesterday for doing that.
No, see, yeah. So just like you mentioned, that's a twofold thing. You know, if you're gonna be doing the stuff, don't tell on yourself. But yeah, this guy in this particular case didn't even say anything. He was just in the video and got convicted. Yeah.
Well, you know, I mean, I could sway to certain NBA basketball players that hold out in the club holding weapons, you know, when hey, you know, that breaches the line, man. I mean, you know, that NBA collective bargaining agreement says, hey, when you're an NBA player, when you're on a team and your team goes out of town to play an out of town game, you are not to bring weapons with you on that trip out of town.
Yeah, I mean, that I can see, but you know, for a music video,
right,
it's still a creative expression, and the fact that we're made to I don't know, to taper that for fear of not being treated like everyone else is just,
Right.
it's bananas.
Right. Plus, as an artist, you're not held to operating under something like an NBA collective bargaining.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. All right. And the final story, which to me, from when I read it, it's probably still unfolding. But we shared a while back that Hybe was trying to take over SM Entertainment, and it looks like that plan is falling short. So, internet giant in South Korea, Kakao, has launched a $960 million offer to buy the controlling stake. And so basically, the result of the offer shows that SM Entertainment's shareholders aren't too excited about Hybe's plan to kind of take control of the company and what they're considering a hostile takeover. So now with Kakao kind of stepping in, it'll keep Hybe from being able to get the amount that they wanted to. So back in February, they acquired a 14.8% stake and an additional 0.98% stake just on the 6th, which raised its ownership to 15.78%. They were trying to go for another 25%. But that's when the tender offer came in and kind of blocked it. So they were able to get a few more shares. But so yeah, it was 233,000 and some change shares as opposed to the 5.95 million that they actually wanted. So yeah, it sounds like the shareholders are like, no go, but we'll see what's going to happen with that. It's basically unfolding like a soap opera, if you will. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yes, it is unfolding like a soap opera.
All right, we're going to take a quick pause for the cause, and then we'll be back with highlights from interviews that we've had with some of the incredible women that have been on the show right after this.
Yes.
Fam, this is Breezy Gipson from the Breeze team. How would you like to see an online platform that brings you people who've already indicated that they're interested in your particular type of business? Whether it's your music you're selling, hip-hop clothing, you got a restaurant or a cafe, or if you're an entrepreneur or agent for a business. Visit me at breeze2cheese.com. That's using the number 2, breeze2cheese.com, or click my bio link on my Instagram profile to see a live demo of how this can help you get more customers and make more money.
Hey, this is Achickwitbeatz. I am a multi-genre music producer and strategist to indie artists and labels. Visit my website, Achickwitbeatz.com, for resources for artists and instrumentals available in various genres for songs, vlogs, blogs, podcasts, themes, TV, film, commercials, and more. Once again, that's Achickwitbeatz.com, ACHICKWITBEATZ. Let's make something happen. Thank you so much for joining us for Music Marbles with Achickwitbeatz and Breezy Gipson. We are excited, thrilled, and delighted to announce that we have Lynn with us in the virtual building. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. I'm super excited to be here.
Great. Well, we're glad to have you. And so you and I have been connected on Instagram for quite a while. So I know that you are, you've got so many different talents going between being a writer. You've got your easing going, you DJ. I mean, you got a lot going. So why don't you give our listeners a little bit of background on who Lynn is, some of the things that you've got going, and what kind of sparked the creative fire in you?
Yeah. Well, I am a storyteller, I like to say, first and foremost. I dip into a lot of different mediums, but regardless of what I'm doing, I am really interested in storytelling. And I think for me, it is an ancestral calling and pursuit, because I come from a line of really phenomenal storytellers. And so I started learning that from my grandmothers when I was really young, and have sort of stepped into my own. I lean heavily into poetry. And so I've published a few books and zines of my poetry. I have a second book coming out this spring. And then I'm also a dancer. I do dances of the diaspora. So I started really young with ballet, but then eventually found hip hop and bomba, salsa, samba, all of these different dances that I still currently practice and do storytelling around that as well. And then with music, my dad was a DJ actually growing up. And so I grew up in a home that was really full of music, and I inherited his record collection. So love also to just play around on the turntables and come up with different sets. And I'm hoping this year to get out there a little bit more with that. But yeah, I lean into a lot of different mediums of storytelling. And I think, again, just going back to family, it really, a lot of the things I do are things that I've learned from my elders and have just sort of decided to continue carrying the torch. So that's me.
Oh, that is incredible. Don't you think so, Breezy?
Right, that skill set is just unmatchable, and you come in bearing gifts that are completely unique, and so my hats off to you for what you have learned and what you possess and what you are sharing with the masses these days. So good stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, okay, now we got to talk a little bit about the storytelling.
Yeah.
I've shared multiple times that I guess my first hip hop experience with that would have been Slick Rick's children's story. And I remember just being so fascinated just captivated, watching, listening. And so with you taking that and finding different ways to be able to utilize it, like with your dancing and all that, can you, I guess, maybe dive deeper into that? So like, I know you said that it's been a part of your history and your ancestors. And so what's the main thing that you, I guess, want to share with people whenever you participate in storytelling?
I love this question so much because that's where I was trying to get to with my answer. But I think, and I've been thinking about this a lot too. So it's a really, like, I've been thinking about my purpose a lot. And I think that something that there's two things for me. One is that I'm really interested in the power of diaspora. And I think through learning about different music styles and different dance styles and storytelling, like one thing that has continued to come up is that, you know, like Black people have this like shared history of being separated from one another through this, like, you know, catalyzing event that was a really horrific event. But in Latin America, in the United States, and in Africa, there's all these like things that still tie us together that even sometimes unconsciously we don't know. So like there's certain like drum rhythms that appear in music in the Americas that can be traced back to Africa, or there's some like hip movements and like stories that have made their way across the ocean and have taken on like different iterations, but like still hold very true to their roots in Africa. And I think that for me, highlighting those things and showing just the power of the diaspora is really important. And then I think also I'm really interested in sharing like about Black humanity from the lens that's not, I think sometimes especially within the literary canon, there's this thing where there's a lot of sharing of struggle and resistance and revolution. And while that is like a part of our history, there's also like joy. There's also so much that like Black people have contributed to the culture of the world. And I want to, in my work, really elevate those things and share those things in my storytelling. And so that is the work that I am currently leaning into and I'm excited about like sharing with the world.
Wow. That's impactful. Like I'm speechless right now. I'm gonna have to turn it over to Breezy. I have nothing to add. Like that's just whoa.
Well, you know, there's so many across the masses. You know, there's a slot for everyone. Okay, and what you've got in the pot that you have stirred up, that you have allowed to simmer, you've put ingredients in there. The aroma is coming up. Okay, and that aroma can go and is going in so many different directions to access so many different segments of the population. Okay, which is incredibly great because you know you've got your own mixed bag of info and education that you're sharing through many different fortes, and so the end project is at such a higher dimension that allows you to spread that and touch so many people. So I mean that you know, kudos to you, because any particular day of the week or any particular day of the month, you can identify that segment that you really want to concentrate on and then back it up and do it. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's it. Higher dimension. Very well said. So yeah, like when you explain it, it feels like something that you should have seen more people kind of connect, but I had not seen any of that prior to you. So, like just the way you broke that down was just touching. And
Thank you.
yeah, so on top of, your storytelling and what you're doing with that, I understand that you've got a podcast that you've been working on as well.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, so the podcast is also work that I'm very passionate about and a little different actually from like my regular storytelling. So the podcast is called Adult Happy Hour, and it started on you were talking about Instagram. It started on my Instagram story in 2020. That was an interesting year for all of us, but on Instagram, I had started to host this like weekly thing in my story where I don't know, I felt like I was having trouble connecting with people. I was feeling a little down, and I was also having this like weird reaction where, I since I wasn't going to happy hour with my friends, I wasn't necessarily able to talk about like some of the things that were going on in my life at that time, which leaned really heavily into like love and sex and things like that. And so I started this erotic like poetry and art night, and through doing that and having discussions around the images and the poems, I started to realize that the discussions were like so much more important and like motivating than sharing the art was. And so then I slowly started to like really focus in on those discussions, and it got to this point where like there was anywhere from 500 to 900 people tuned into my story every week.
Wow.
Having different discussions around sensuality and eroticism, etc. And all of these just other things started to come up. So people were like, I want more of this. I want to like learn more, hear more. And I was like, well, in like what format could this look like? And people said like a newsletter, all of these other things, but then the idea for a podcast came up. And so we started our podcast last year. We're in our second season now, and we talk about everything from intimacy and attraction to like BDSM and like ethical non-monogamy. But yeah, we get into some things and have very interesting conversations on the podcast. And I feel like I've learned and grown so much myself just from being in community with people like that. So yeah, that's a little bit about Adult Happy Hour.
Thank you so much for joining us today for Music Marvels with Achickwitbeatz and Breezy Gipson. We are excited, thrilled, and delighted to let you know that we have with us in our virtual building today, Kristen Eve. How are you doing? And thank you so much for joining us.
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited to talk with both of you.
Yeah. So, if you can, just give everybody a little bit of your background, what kind of shaped you and got you into music and developed your love for it?
So I grew up in the Philippines, and, the culture there absolutely loves music and expression through music. And that's, where I fell in love with music. That's where I started to play guitar and write music at 13 years old. And, ever since then, it's just been the one thing in my life that's never left me. It's helped me navigate, so many ups and downs in my life. And that's truly just how I express myself.
Man, what a beautiful opening when you say, Breezy.
Yeah, see, we're already in the same pocket because at age 13, I was learning how to play guitar and I was developing.
Really?
Oh, yes. So, see, we're in the same pocket. We're definitely in the same.
I love that. Yeah, there's something I've heard so many people say that 13 is when they started learning guitar. There's something about it.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So So yeah, I know you're itching to ask a question. I'll go ahead and yield the floor to you.
Well, I mean, hey, that point right there is worth 40,000 points. Okay, so we're already winning with that. And so when you're young and you get involved with instrumentation, it takes you into a different world of your own, a world of absorbing, a world of learning. And so after doing that for from 13 to about age 15, you were really kind of set aside because you had a talent that you've been working on that some of the other folks that age, they didn't have. So did that make them gravitate towards you a bit more because of that talent that you had?
Yes and no. I feel like when something like that enters your life, for a lot of people like myself, it usually it comes from a place of like, I mean, for me, I had a lot of childhood trauma that happened to me. And now looking back, now that I'm older, looking back, I can see that it's almost like my soul led me to falling in love with the guitar and writing music and singing and expressing myself through music so that I could build this safe little world where basically it was just me for a while. So I would say that it wasn't really more people gravitated towards me. It was more like for a while I was in my own little bubble. And that just helped me cope and get through some really tough times in my life. And now, I would say now in my adult years, yes, it's definitely starting to, it has started to bring people in and have people gravitate towards me and like-minded people, of course. But, in the beginning, it just felt like my own little, I hesitate to use the word isolated, but I guess that is kind of what it was. But it just kept me, safe for a while in that, and where I could learn how to navigate the hard emotions and events in my life through music.
Well, that was your safe zone. That was your safe zone.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That kind of reminds me of the Maya Angelou quote where she's talking about how music was where she could curl her back up to the loneliness. And I feel like a lot of artists, do kind of have something to pull from, like where they kind of need to escape to music. And Absolutely. So, with that being said, for you to embrace it like that, were there any specific people that maybe you turned on before you started picking up your guitar? Like maybe if you were feeling a certain way, anytime I hear such and such sing, I feel relieved or comfort. Any artists like that stick out?
Yes. Since I was a little girl, Celine Dion has been my woman. Like she's the top for me. Like she's my greatest idol. And she was, I would say out of any artist, I mean, there's so many, but she was the one who I'm watching her concert DVDs back to back, like 3-4 times in a day, sitting inches from the screen, just losing myself in her world and not just listening. I look back now and I see I was in a way studying her because I wouldn't just listen to her sing. I would always watch how she talks to people in the crowd. Her concert DVDs, I would watch how she interacts with people. I would watch how she makes them feel seen and heard, and how she talks to the crowd and includes people, and how she treats people in interviews and stuff like that. My heart, I just remember being a little girl just like absolutely adoring that and looking up to her, and just it made me feel seen and heard. And so she was somebody that she just absolutely rocked my world. I love her to this day. But yeah, she definitely helped shape me as an artist and who I am now, and how I express myself, but also how I interact with others.
That's really
and I gotta throw this out there. See, if you actually can speak that into existence, where I know she just recently made an announcement about a week ago about her health and everything, but you can actually speak it into existence where somewhere down the road, you actually are going to be in the front row at one of her performances.
Oh, wow.
I mean, but you got to speak it into existence.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, you can do that, and it will come to fruition.
Then we got to have you back on.
I agree with you on that. Yeah.
Then we got to have you back on so you can tell us all about it. We'll say, hey, remember the first time you were on the show?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting about what you said about how she talks to people and kind of draws you in. I know we've been connected on Instagram for some time now, but when I'm scrolling and I see your videos, you have that same quality. Because, there's a lot of content out there, but, stop and it feels like you're talking directly to me, not to, some massive audience. So, you actually possess that quality. Maybe that's why you were so drawn to it.
Wow. I mean, it feels nice to hear that because, sometimes you don't really, I mean, obviously I'm not experiencing myself as a third person. I'm just me. So, I forget that, I can have that effect on someone. So it's definitely like, it feels nice to know that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and this is just, kind of an example of that. Weren't you drawn in instantly as soon as she started with her story, Breezy?
Absolutely. I mean, it didn't take, it was like half a second. I was there. That's what I'm saying. We were in the same pocket because of what I was hearing and the way I was hearing it. Okay. So yeah. Shouts out to you. Shouts out to you.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So anybody that's listening right now, what would you tell them that you want them to gain from listening to you? So, let's say we've got somebody out there that's like, oh, I can't wait to go check her out. I want to hear, what she sounds like. What do you want them to walk away from listening to you for that first time?
I would say just know that it hasn't been overnight for me to get to where I am today. And the one thing I would say that tops everything that I want to give to people through my music, my voice, my expression is not feeling alone in whatever they're going through. I have been through so many events in my life where I was alone, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and literally, on the floor alone and thinking, man, I wish so bad that there was somebody on the floor going through this with me right now and we could just talk and whatever. And every time I would go through those moments, I would always say, I vow to myself that when I am finally in a place in my life where I can sing and release my songs and talk to other people and share my music, I vow to myself to do everything I possibly can for them to get to have that feeling of that someone's, on the floor, sitting with them in their pain, not trying to rip them out of it, but just actually being there in that moment with them. And so that is my greatest hope, that when people hear me sing or they hear my lyrics or they hear me share anything, that's that feeling they get, that space of just togetherness. And I'm not trying to make you be different in this moment. I'm not trying to make it better. I'm not trying to come in and rescue you. I'm just actually here sitting in your pain or whatever it is you're going through. And that's enough. Just being with you in it.
All right. And that does it for this week's edition of Music Marvels with Achickwitbeatz and Breezy Gipson. Once again, we thank you, the listener, for joining us and tuning in and telling your friends about us. We really appreciate it. Super huge shout out to our home stations, Grander Radio out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Sparks Radio out of Denver, Colorado. And it's been a blast. I'm already looking forward to next week. How about you?
I stay prepared. The outlook is just outlooking. And, I stay ready. It's all, like Don Cornelius used to say, stone gap.
All right. So till next time, you know where to find us. Tune in, tell a friend, and we'll see you then. Peace.
Peace.